I am RichboyJhae, also Jalen Edwards is my real name, and this is my Starkiller base mock, or at least 30% of it. I'm doing a build series on my channel right now at RichboyJhae, so you can go check that out. When this mock is done, it'll be 3 times this size, and it's really just meant to encompass all the scenes from Starkiller base from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So the real novelty about this is the fact that it's obviously a lot of minifigures lined up in one place, something that I've really never done, so it was quite the feat. I have so much respect now for people who army build, because the task of actually placing all these figures is one that I'd not really want to go through more than once if I didn't have to. But this right here is actually, I believe, 570 figures, and it's still not even complete. I still have to add so many more figures into some of the empty spaces here, and I'm estimating that once this platform is filled up, it'll be around 650 to 700 figures, and the whole entire mock's probably going to get to around 1,000 figures. So I got a lot of figures to buy, unfortunately. But until then, I've had a lot of fun building this mock. One of the things that I really wanted to focus in on this section was the snow details on this platform, because it was very easy to just make it all gray. That would have been very straightforward, but there's a lot of snow that kind of covers a platform, so I used a lot of snot techniques to kind of create what essentially ended up being a grid type of pattern, where there's little crosses at certain intervals, and they all kind of work together to make almost like a grid. So the snow essentially just settles into the crevices in the ground, and I think that actually turned out pretty well here. That's probably my favorite part of this entire area. Also, another thing are the flags that are kind of set up all around. That was one of the, I think, things that stuck out the most in this scene, because they were red and they contrasted really well with the whites of the troops and the grays of the platform. So it was fun being able to incorporate those as well. And one of my long-term goals with the flags is to actually include some decals on them that can have the First Order logo. So I have to look into how I can incorporate that. Of course, we have ships on either side bookending the mock, which was pretty cool to incorporate as well. Shout out to Jarek. He is an incredible builder. Those are his TIE Fighter designs. I'm going to have to build probably around 10 or 11 of them for this mock, and I don't mind it at all because the design is so good. So great job on that, Jarek. I have no problem building a ton of your mock because you did such a wonderful job on it.
Is that design available online if other people want to check that out?
Yeah, so it's on brickvault.toys. Okay. Brickvault was actually kind enough to send me that design for my crate build a year ago. So it's nice that I'm still able to use that for mocks down the line. So yeah, you can go check it out there. You can get the mock, and I heavily recommend it. If the mock wasn't that good, I definitely wouldn't be spending so much money building so many of them. But I will love having every single one of those in my collection. Another thing that I actually did for this convention, it's not really going to be incorporated into the mock for the long term, but I felt that it would be a nice way to fill in some of the gaps here, because I haven't built all the TIE Fighters yet, and I included the First Order Transporter Lego sets on this side, and I also included the First Order Snowspeeder sets on the other side. And I think it actually looks pretty good. I think long term, my goal is to make a mock of the Transporter, so you can see that on my channel, hopefully sometime soon when I get that done, and the same thing with the Snowspeeder as well. Another thing that I actually really enjoyed making on this mock are these little elevator sections right here. So at first glance, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is, but it's actually an elevator. One of the things that I probably could have incorporated into this mock is to have made it functional where it would actually go deep into the ground. But because this mock is going to end up being so large in the long term, I wanted to spare myself filler and make this part as flat as I could, because I know I have so many larger structures to build beyond this. But I actually love the way the design came out, getting these like shapes to fit in here, specifically with the way the slopes are there. I realized like it's not going to be easy for me to have this pattern right here on the slopes, so I had to come up with a design using these hinge pieces on the side in order to have that same light design go all the way around the mock, and it ended up working pretty well. I also like it because it breaks up maybe some of the monotony of just having the completely gray platform. Just adds a little bit more color in there. It's always nice to incorporate that. The most recent addition to this mock that I've done is this stage right here, and I'm actually really proud of this because, one, it allowed me to put in some Easter eggs, and two, I actually spent quite a bit of time on the design. So I wasn't planning on doing this, but I just ended up bringing this to the convention. I figured, why not have a Porg addressing the First Order? So you can see I'm showing respect to our Porg overlords. If you guys haven't heard the word, you need to look into it, because the word is the bird, and the bird is the Porg. So I actually have General Hux up here sitting next to him. He's holding his coffee cup because it gets cold on Starkiller base. Need a little nourishment there to keep him cold, especially during those intense speeches. And I have the rest of the gang lined up behind him. Got Phasma as well as two First Order Snowtroopers flanking them as well. So I really liked incorporating this into the mock because one, it was something that wasn't just me building out a flat, great platform, but also it's a pretty important part to the mock. I feel like this is the most recognizable part of this because you spend so much time looking at Hux while he's giving his speech. And one of the other really cool things that I actually just recently added to it are these little icicles on the bottom of it. So you can see I added some Unikitty horns in white. And those are kind of meant to represent icicles kind of forming on the bottom of the stage. And I actually got a bunch of them, so the goal is to incorporate those, maybe even on some of the ships, just really give the idea that these things have been sitting here long and have been impacted by the weather. So I think that's a pretty holistic look at this mock. Like I said, it's going to be much bigger than this when it's done, but this is much different than anything I've ever done. It's clearly way more figures than I've ever incorporated into anything, and I just love the fact that I've kind of been able to assemble my first order army that I've really been building since 2015 when those movies first came out. Not really with any goal in mind other than, hey, these sets are out, I want to buy a bunch of them. But now they actually can be put to a good use, I think. So it makes me feel a lot better about all those purchases I made a long time ago.
Yeah, I love the way you explain kind of all the details and your thinking that went into it as the build came together. So I know you mentioned earlier, you can see a lot more of the larger build as you do it on your channel. So talk about that and kind of building on YouTube and what that process is like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I guess, technically the fourth big build that I'm doing on my channel. Started with Scarif, went to Crate, most recently did Vardos, and now it's going to be Starkiller base. So this is actually a project that I've had in my mind for a while now. Whenever we decided to do Crate, it was either going to be Crate or Starkiller, and we elected to do Crate because it was more relevant to the time. And we also knew that whenever we were going to switch over to do Starkiller, we would have a lot of similar parts from Crate, namely the white for the snow, a lot of the first order troops and the ships and stuff like that. So we knew either way we decided to go, we would be well off for the second mock because we would have accumulated parts that would be useful for that next mock. So the process for me doing this on YouTube, it really just, I mean, at the end of the day, I would really build this stuff if I wasn't on YouTube, but having the community really inspires me to maybe go and a little bit more deeply on the things that I do to make these mocks, because for me it's something that I just kind of do a second nature, but the fact that I'm doing like wiki updates kind of inspires me to maybe reach out to more people and show them exactly how they can do something like this, or show them techniques that I'm using that they could do as well. Another of the cool things about building on YouTube is you have all your documentation there, because you have a community who wants to see what you're building. If you ever want to look back on something and see how you did a specific technique, or just want to reminisce on the good times, you have that documentation there. And it's really cool for me, like every now and again I'll go look at some of my older build series, and then it's kind of cool to reflect on how far I've come even since then. So like I said, the community aspect of it cannot be understated. It's awesome that I can have people who actually care about what I'm building and are looking forward to the updates on a weekly basis. It makes this build experience even more incredible. So I love that so much.
Well, definitely great work. Look forward to seeing the whole display finished on your channel. For everyone watching, we'll make sure to put a link to Jalen's channel in the description, so you can check that out if you want to follow his progress along as he does this build, and I'm sure you'll have future projects on there as well.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.